Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are just going to do a quick revision on two of my rigs. Now I had my TRX4, which I threw in a Spectrum 3300 brushless sensorless motor, which is meant for a basher. The thing was fun for a while, but I swapped it out. Same thing with my HBR 1011, which is basically a Traxxas clone, and we swapped the same motor in there, and they were fun for a while, but they needed to be changed out, and here's why. Now, as you saw in those videos, it's so much fun to go fast, but these particular rigs, I think you have to go slower. And having a crawler, being more into the crawling scene, you realize just how much more fun you can have going slow. And this is where you really see that each type of RC has its own type of purpose. And for crawling, you really need something that can really handle the slow crawl. As I said, the motors I had in these two rigs were basher motors. They were sensorless, they were brushless, but they were sensorless motors, so you couldn't really do much at a slow pace. It was either full throttle or no throttle, and when you tried to kind of feather the throttle, there was a lot of cogging and it would just be really difficult. Now, you were able to drive over rocks and stuff like that, especially in low gear, but there was no real slow modulation over top of those rocks, and it was either you had to be going at a faster pace or a slower pace, but there wasn't really a slow pace, if that makes any sense. You kind of had to have like a continuous motion, whereas with something with a sensor system, it just makes it that much easier to get over those obstacles. Enter the wonderful Hobbywing 2-in-1 ESC and motor combos. Now, these things are phenomenal. I have these in all my other rigs. And I'm going to, you know what, leave the brushless, sensorless Spectrum ones in my other basher rigs because that's where they belong. They were fun for a while. It was great. It was very novel to see them go scooting around everywhere, but now it's time to actually put in a more useful motor combo, and these Hobbywings are the way to go. This HBR 1011 is going to be getting a Fusion Pro 2300, and I am going to be upping the tooth count to, I think it's 14 teeth, because that's the biggest it can go on that stock motor mount. We tried to put a 15 tooth onto this, but unfortunately this bolt here is for, that bolt hole is for a 14 tooth. That's the biggest that we could fit. I didn't think we had a 14, but we did have a 14 tooth, and it fits a heck of a lot better. 15 was tight. But yeah, when we get this one in here, the mesh is a lot better. So we're gonna run a 14 tooth on this one with the Fusion Pro. Now, of course, we got to share the Hobbywing love with the TRX4 Blazer, but this one's going to get a little bit different of an upgrade. It's going to be getting the Fusion Pro Elite. So I've never tried this out before. This is my first time I got this one, but we're going to give it a shot. This one's also 4S capable, so I'm going to give this a shot both on 3S and 4S because I'm just actually curious to see how fast this is going to go. We're also going to give this a bit of a pinion upgrade. I was running a 13 tooth pinion on the Spectrum motor, but this time we're going to drop in a 15 tooth pinion because that's what I have kicking around as well, and I actually want to see how fast that goes with a 15 tooth. But we also can go up to a 16 tooth. There is a slot for 16 tooth, but we're just going to stick with the 15 for now. For the dollar, these are probably the best bang for buck you can get, especially if you're into crawling, but you don't want to be spending so much money into it. These are probably the best way to go. They give you so much control over your rig, and they're not going to break the bank, and you're just going to have way more fun crawling with one of these motors. For the dollar, this is probably the best that you'll find for the value. Now, this is just some old footage of these two rigs trying to crawl. And when I first got them, I thought, hey, yeah, this isn't too bad. But as you see, there's no really good modulation. They're very jerky, and you have to kind of have a bit of momentum to get over rocks. And it just wasn't a good setup to go rock crawling. trailing wasn't bad because the paths were a little bit easier to go up and down, and a few rocks here and there, but even that was okay. And I wasn't really excited to take these on the trails. I was excited to drive them, but not really to take them on any rock crawling or trailing sessions. So I'm really glad I got rid of those setups and put in these brushless Hobbywing setups because they are a game changer. It's kind of funny because looking back now at this footage, I remember trying to convince myself that these would be okay and it would be all right and I would enjoy driving them a lot. But just thinking back, and I was like, it's not that fun. So I kind of always put these last on my list of rigs to drive. All right, so now that we have these new electronic setups installed, we are going to check this out to see how much better they actually are. .7 miles, 16.2 miles. Yeah, I'm all right with it. 6.9. Oh, 16.2. Okay, we're slapping a big 4S in here. Straps won't even fit, but we're gonna see what we can get with this. 9.3 on a 4S. Okay. There we go, 21.3 miles an hour on 4S. Let's see how this goes. Now this TRX4 is an absolute beast on 4S with the Fusion Pro Elite. Am I going to keep using it on 4S? Probably not. Most likely I'm just going to use a 3S like my other rigs, but it's fun to know that I can actually jack it up by just throwing in the 4S battery. And there you have it. Overall, I am elated with these upgrades. I love these trucks again. I want to take them out. I can't wait for the snow to melt. I'm so glad I swapped over. If you guys are looking to get a brushless setup, you know what? It's fun to have a basher, but if you're into the crawling, you gotta get a sensor setup because the sensorless setup is not gonna treat you well, and you're not gonna have a good time with it. Get something that is censored so you can actually do the slow crawl, and you will have way more fun doing that. So I hope you found that helpful. If you did, please like, subscribe, and follow along for more videos to come. All right, take care, guys. See you soon.